G'day guys, you're listening to the AussieDevs podcast, episode 9, podcast where we discuss what's happening in the world of Australian game development. I'm your host Glenn, and as per usual, I'm joined by Eric.
Hey guys.
And we have a special guest on today's show, Jacob Janerka. Is that how you pronounce your last name?
Yeah, you did it perfectly. You're like the first person in the world to do that.
Well, we were talking and Eric was like, you should do a Russian accent for the intro.
That would not be a good idea.
Yeah. Because you got to do like Jacob, right? Isn't that how that in Russian?
Oh, well, I'm actually Polish heritage, but yeah, it's like Jacob Janerka.
Yeah. There we go. Learn something new every day. So, is that where the whole accent thing comes from? Like, is any of your family still from Poland or anything like that?
Yeah. Both my parents are from there. The accent is just kind of like an amalgamation of like accents from kind of everywhere. Like some people say, well, like, oh, this Russian accent is terrible, but it's like, well, it's not really supposed to be Russian. It's kind of supposed to be kind of generic sounding and supposed to sound like the person knows English pretty well. Like that's one of the, if you listen to people from those kind of countries who know English very well, they kind of sound kind of similar.
Yeah. I suppose if you had too much of a thick accent as well, like the whole idea is that people who maybe potentially don't speak English or as well, or even like people like sometimes people have trouble with accents if it's too thick. Then
definitely. Like you have to be still pretty clear because like there's a lot of people who have a second language who play this game in English, so it was pretty important that it was pretty clear, not just like completely like hello I'm from Russia.
I don't want to spoil too much from the game, but that tuba guy, one of the characters is he's got a pretty good thick accent.
Oh yeah, I mean the tuba is supposed to be like unintelligible. Like it was basically, I stole the concept from a game called Jazz Punk, and all the voices are basically like someone going like that. So I was like, I will take that. I'll
make that my own. What I suppose we didn't say we introduced Jacob was that recently released the game Paradigm, which relatively solo you have made essentially. I mean, you've had help with the music and a few other little bits of voice acting here and there, but essentially a solo project.
Yeah, pretty much. Like Jonas Chelberg, who's my sound guy, so he did all the sound and music, and then all the all the voice actors that I hired for all the. There's like about 15 roles I had or something like that, and there's about like I think I hired about 10 voice actors or something like that.
Yeah, right. Is that like people in Perth or I mean I don't know.
all over the world.
Most this day and age.
Yeah, mostly people from LA actually, because that's just like the easiest. Most of the voice actors are in LA, but yeah, I've got a few from England, one guy from Russia, pretty all over the place.
Pretty easy, I suppose.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And interestingly, I suppose I want to ask, how do you find these people? Like, what do you use to get in contact with them and find voice actors?
Just Twitter was actually the big thing. Like, I was lucky enough. There was a few times where like some of my art went viral and some certain voice actors like liked my stuff. When I posted my Stranger Things artwork, I had like a few people like share my artwork, and one of them was like Brock Baker, who's like a YouTube dude, but he also does voices, he came on board.
Yep.
And then he recommended me Brizzy Voices, who's also another YouTuber, and she came on board after that. So like it all kind of came in for that, and like also the voice actor for Sarah Ryder from Mass Effect, she found me on Twitter, and then I just messaged her, and she was keen to come on board as well. So it's pretty like a combination of luck and like just you can just email anyone these days. It's especially voice actors because they're actively look for work.
You did do a lot of hard work as well. I remember coming across your Twitter account maybe 2 years ago when I started a bit of marketing for my game, and your artwork is very unique. It's well out there, and it does capture the eye. So you did do a lot of hard work to get that build up that reputation, I think, as well.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's all right. It's
It's one of the things like couple of people we've spoken to who've had a bit of success with the games that they've produced have similar sort of response. I mean, I suppose you've been working at this game for what, three or so years, and for someone, when someone sort of praise you on it, it's kind of like, yeah, it's all right, it's okay. But I mean, we've only played a short amount of it. We don't have a lot of time to put into it, but I mean, I really enjoyed just the first couple of acts or first couple of scenes in that game.
It definitely captures you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, it's like you work on it like for so long, and you kind of become almost, you have to make yourself kind of like numb to it, so you don't like get affected by like bad feedback as well. Because if you're like so precious to it, like a little bit of bad feedback can like send you spiraling into like a deep depression.
Yeah.
You have to stay pretty like neutral to it, but also you can't be a dick and always be like, oh, it's a shit game, don't say it's good. Like that's just like,
no one wants to hear that.
No one wants to hear that.
No, I mean, so Paradigm, where did you get the sort of idea from it originally?
Yeah, it originally started off as like a 2D side-scroller game, like the idea from it. It had like the basic concept of like genetic engineering and prodigy children and stuff like that. Like I was watching like a lot of sci-fi and reading a lot of dystopia, like not 1984, Brave New World, and the movie Gattaca.
Gattaca, that's the one. Yeah.
Yeah, Gattaca is like pretty heavily influences the game. Obviously only in like concept, not in the actual movie. But then I kind of moved from there and just kept on developing. I went to Europe and I was like really inspired by Eastern Europe, and it became like a necessity thing where I could do that accent and I couldn't afford voice acting. So I was like, okay, I'll set it in this world because I have the resources to do that, instead of like, setting it in somewhere that might not sound very good.
Yeah, it's fair enough. I mean, I think also at the moment it kind of captures what's a resurgence in sort of 80s retro, the kind of vibe. Like it's kind of all coming back. And I think that's, obviously that's part of the whole theme of the game itself. So
set in that day and age,
yeah. I was kind of pretty lucky. Like at the moment, like a lot of adventure games, like all the remasters are coming out right now. Thimbleweed Park, which is pretty crazy. Like when I first started making it, I mean, adventure games were still getting popular as well. Like there was all the Wadget Eye games, and those are doing really well. So I was like, okay, there's an actual market for this. Let's do this. So
have you played a lot of adventure games? Is like something I remember playing a few of them when I was a kid. I mean, I haven't really gone near them since, but obviously like Treasure Monkey Island and things like that. But
all the Myst series as well. They were pretty good. I love the style, the click to progress kind of style instead of just a fast paced real time kind of thing.
Yeah, they have I think they have like a few people who have made those kind of games. There's actually a game from Australia that it's called Tower of or Eyes of Aria or something like that. He was at PAX. He did really well. It's a kind of like a Myst type kind of game.
Yeah, righto.
Or influenced at least.
Yeah, I mean, I'm drawn to games that have a narrative with them. I mean, I much prefer to play sort of narrative-driven games than I would first-person shooters or whatever. Never mind the fact that I'm terrible at first-person shooters.
That's probably the real reason.
So bad. But I mean, it's just fun at the time to play them. But yeah, dropping a sort of hour or so of the day into it, and I enjoy that the fact that there's so many different. You've clearly thought of a lot of different things, like simple things, like even parts of the world that potentially aren't integral to the story. You can still investigate and have a look at. And then you have a little commentary there, like, why would I do this, or why would I pick that up? And it kind of makes it feel more real and immersive.
Yeah. Like, I mean, one of the my biggest memories from adventure games was that kind of like sense of adventure. Like you'd check everything. Actually, going back, it didn't do as much as I remembered, but I just thought that was really cool, and I wanted to kind of synthesize that for people, that kind of you wanting to click on everything because there's something else to be seen. Like so you're not just like smashing through the story. Like you're actually exploring the world, and it's been really nice that people have been doing that, which has made me really happy.
Yeah, I remember playing through the first scene of yours. I was clicking on every single option for every single object, And it was good to see, like, there was a lot of specialization or customization for each little bit.
Yeah, like it took a lot of time to make sure that was like a thing. I think there's roughly about 5 hours of like audio in the game, and like majority of that's just like throwaway lines for those kind of stuff.
That's quality right there.
Yeah, unfortunately like audio doesn't compress very well, so it's like I think it's like a 1.5 gig download off Steam.
So when did you sort of start actually getting into really designing the game and building the game itself?
Probably just before the Kickstarter is when I kind of took it seriously. Like I had the game, like I actually took it to like a Perth games convention in like the very first Perth games convention, which was like in 2012 or 13.
Oh, 13. Oh, wow. Yeah, okay.
But it was so small. Like there was only like maybe like 150 people came or something, or maybe a little bit more. But it was like a tiny thing at one of the tapes, and there was like 6 games or something like that. And I had just the first room, and there was like no puzzles, there was nothing. It was just like Paradigm walking around, like looking at stuff. And it was so hard, like a hard sell to get people to sit down. Like, so what's the game? Well, just go and look around and click on things. There's no gameplay.
It's so funny looking. You just talking about the past, like the history of Paradigm. That game that you presented there eventuated into what it is now. So it's quite a journey.
Yeah, it's definitely pretty weird. Like I thought it would be a cool idea, but I never thought I would actually get to finish it because of like the money that would require for it to be like what it is today, basically.
I mean, I suppose on that, you had a fair bit of success with Kickstarter. I mean, you got your goal basically, essentially.
Yeah. I mean, my goal was 14 grand, and I ended up getting 37, so I was pretty lucky with that. Obviously not like the almost like 3-year salary that I worked on it for. Yeah. Definitely worth it. Like, I was lucky enough I could like live with my parents and like, pay minimum board and not really pay for much food. So I had that kind of privilege that I was able to do that, which I'm lucky to have.
That definitely helps.
I was going to ask like how many packets of mee goreng noodles you had to live up. Like, cause you essentially quit your job doing this full time, really.
Yeah, I mean, I was lucky enough, like, pretty much the board that I would pay was like going towards food. So
yeah,
I would pay the board, like, I'd eat like good food at least.
Yeah, you gotta stay healthy.
Mum's cooking.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Maybe I should move back in with my mum. No.
The whole Kickstarter process, I think this is one thing you're really interested in, Glenn. How did you go about starting that? Were there any tips that you could mention just for people considering that?
Yeah, it's a lot of work. You have to be prepared to like put a lot of work in. Sometimes people will misinterpret like a Kickstarter as like a kind of like an easy thing. You just ask for money and you get it, but it takes like months of planning, and then you have to spend like a full-time job maintaining it for a month, basically. Yeah, it's like, if I were to give a tip, like you have to start as early as you can and start building a following, because if you start it without anyone knowing what your game is, like you will just fail pretty miserably pretty quickly. So you want to kind of get out like as much content as you can, start building a kind of following, and then like building a mailing list is really important. So when you start the Kickstarter, people will go straight to it, and you need a demo. Like 100% need a demo. Like some people do Kickstarters about demos, and almost like 98% of the time they fail unless you're like Tim Schafer.
Yeah, you've got the people have to kind of understand what's supporting, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. Like people don't want to give their money to like a concept art. Especially for people who've never made games. Like the only time they're successful is when the person's already made a game and has like a proven track record. Like,
like nostalgic based.
Yeah, even giving money to someone like me was like a risk. 'Cause I've never made a game. The game was supposed to come out in like 2015.
Yeah,
I guess that's what Kickstarter's about, though.
Yeah,
and also there's so many games on Kickstarter, so many different things on Kickstarter.
Yeah, true.
But games as well. So I mean, how do you stand out from that crowd, I suppose, and show that you're making not another first person shooter or another something different? And that's probably where Paradigm as well was good in that it was something a little bit different.
That's right.
Like, yes,
Yeah.
there are point-and-click adventure games, but, I don't think there's anything out there that you can really go, Paradigm is like this other point-and-click adventure game.
Yeah, it's pretty. I was lucky enough that it was unique enough for that kind of stuff. If I could compare it would probably be closer to like Sam and Max and like Day of the Tentacle. It was like the closest references.
Yeah, it's very, very special in that sense that you don't really play like an abandoned mutant child every day kind of thing.
yeah. I mean, that was a risk as well that I took. Like when I first was showing the game, people were telling me like the character made them vomit and be uncomfortable. So I was like, oh,
that's a good reaction, I guess.
that's I should continue this then.
Poor Paradigm. It's not that bad. Yeah, so the Kickstarter itself was pretty successful, and from that, I suppose you said before, you mentioned you had a bit of a following and a mailing list, but I think also your social media has been pretty integral in marketing this game too. I mean, you seem to have a lot of tweets all the time, and I think Twitter at the moment's quite powerful.
Yeah, Twitter is probably the most powerful tool you can have for game developing in specifically, because the biggest power is that you can reach people who have influence really easily, because since it's like such low impact, like you can only write a certain amount of characters, like famous people will read their tweets rather than their emails, right? Yep. So you can catch people's attention a lot easier on Twitter.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Very good point. And I know a few celebrities like Donald Trump. He's still a celebrity. He likes to tweet around a lot.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you look at the leader of the free world uses Twitter, like clearly that's like
the free world.
So like to shout USA.
Power for it, yeah.
He looks pretty similar to a sloth, I know, but
I did not intend that at all. Like people keep saying that, and it was like totally unintentional. Like his haircut is actually based on the character in X-Men, the guy who Tyrion Lannister. It was based on his haircut.
Olivia Trask. Yeah. Anyway,
Paradigm would be your most recent and biggest project. Did you have any other games before Paradigm? Were you developing anything before that, or was it just your art?
Yeah, Paradigm was my first game, but I was drawing for a long time. Like, I tried for like ages to become like a freelance like artist. That was failing pretty hard. I got a few jobs, but like nothing in comparison to like live off.
Yeah.
Like the things that I like to do weren't particularly marketable, and like when I did things which were marketable, I didn't really enjoy it that much. So like for ages I tried to do like fantasy cards, but my heart wasn't really in it that much.
You gotta love what you do.
Yeah. I mean, I love drawing, but like it kind of gets boring after a while, like the 10th wizard that you draw. Like I love wizards, but
I love me some wizards.
Yeah.
I did have a look at your website, Jacob, and it does have a few of your illustrations up there, and some of them are it's just a lot of wizards and stuff.
Yeah, like that website is so old. Like some of those artworks are like so old. I need to update it. Like I forgot if it's even up since I don't use it.
As someone who can't draw at all, I really hate you sometimes. Because oh man, yeah,
it's any skill. I imagine you have skills that destroy mine. Like I just practiced,
Yeah, well, that's exactly how much of that was natural in terms of have you always been able to draw relatively well and then lots of practice to get better, or
lots of practice.
You're not going to wake up one day and just be an amazing artist.
Yeah, no way. Yeah, I mean, like pretty much all the artists that you see which are like good normally have practiced their asses off. There's only like it's always there's exceptions. There's going to be like one guy who's just really naturally good, but even the naturally good guys practice heaps. So like I started drawing seriously when I was like 16, and I'll draw like 10 hours a day kind of thing. And yeah, I just pretty much like 16 to like 21, I was like drawing constantly basically. Yeah, you need to practice a lot basically if you want to get good at anything.
I think the
So,
good thing about your talents is like you could do a bit of voice acting while you're drawing as well, so you could practice two talents at once.
I don't think you can throw all of your attention. So, in terms of your drawing, what do you use in terms of programs for digital drawing and stuff like that?
I use pretty much Photoshop. The only time I use like other programs, only like recently at the end of the process, I started using like After Effects for some certain animations, which was just quicker to animate in there.
Yep.
But yeah, pretty much everything that I drew was done in Photoshop, like frame by frame or depending on whatever it is.
And is that with like a stylus? And
Yeah. Sorry, I have a Wacom tablet which I use.
Yep.
Not with a mouse. Definitely not with a mouse.
That's
yeah, like we sort of started dabbling in creating some art for stuff we want to do, and it just, until you start doing it, you don't really understand how difficult it is.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Like that's why like art is like the most like unvalued thing, because people assume it's like really easy, and then they try it and then you're like, oh, wait, I don't understand how a head works at all.
Yeah, like proportions and things like that.
And then advancing on that is how to manipulate them so you can change the dimensions of the appendages but still make it look decent. Bobbleheads.
Yeah, like art is like insane. Like when you start breaking it down, like there's some artists who are so unbelievably good. Like I can't even fathom like how good they are. Like to be able to draw, like make up like a lighting situation inside your head, like which is like crazy realistic. It's like, how can you do that? Like, so I know some artists who do it off the top of their head because they've just practiced so much. It's like how they spend like crazy amounts practicing.
So in terms of finishing this game up now, where do you sort of see Paradigm going from here? Like, what's your next sort of, I mean, I know you've just released it, but what's your next step after you post-release?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of depends on how well Paradigm does. Like, I have a bunch of plans that I want to do. I do want to keep making games. I wouldn't mind pitching like a Adult Swim TV show. But yeah, I have to see what happens. Like, I'll probably spend like quite a bit of time experimenting to find like the next thing to do. So yeah, it depends on how well Paradigm goes.
Do you find there's much post-production required for the game? Like, so you've just released it
2 weeks ago.
Yeah. So have you had like bug reports and things like that you have to sort of try and
yeah, there's like
able to fix now?
Heaps of work to do post-release. Like a lot of it's like dealing with technical problems, which aren't necessarily like bugs in the game, just like people can't like start the game. And normally it's just got to do with like certain weird things, like if someone has like a 4K monitor, like they have to do like a workaround, or sometimes people's graphic cards aren't that great, and like just like weird shit like that. There is probably like 2 like major bugs in the game at the moment, but like they're pretty relatively rare to get to. It's like mostly the people who like really thrash the game get those bugs.
So one of those things that's like set up like, yeah, I've got that bug, yeah, you know, like
pretty much
challenge.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. You know, you do all the game dev stuff, but you never really see yourself doing like the technical role afterwards. It's one of those roles that you don't see until you actually.
Yeah. I totally did not consider it. Like, it's definitely the most unfun thing you can do. Like, because you get, I mean, since it's like solo, like I get all the emails that people send, and you get like hundreds of scam emails. It's crazy. Like,
yeah, I saw that post.
Yeah, you have to, because it's annoying because there's legitimate people who are asking for the game, and sometimes it's like hard to tell if they're scams or not. Like, can you waste your time just like reading it and trying to make sure it's not a scam? Like, some of them are just so like unimaginative as well. Like they'll link like a YouTuber, and the YouTuber clearly is like English native and can speak very good English, and then you like read the email and it's like, I will make beautiful review for you, and like they don't speak like that at all.
I will do the beautiful.
It's like those Nigerian princes that keep trying to hassle
Pretty much.
I'm still waiting for my money. But,
You've got the Steam process as well. This is pretty interesting. I was looking into this. because we were considering releasing a multi-platform game as well. So Steam definitely popped up since there were a lot of users on it. The whole process there, the green light, how did you go about that? Did you run into any problems, or was it pretty straightforward?
I was really lucky because I did it during the Kickstarter, so it kind of feeds into each other like a loop. So I got greenlit in like 5 days or something like that.
That's pretty good.
But these days, greenlight is pretty easy to get through, but it's going away soon. So
yeah, they're changing it.
Yeah, it will cost like $1,000, I think, to go through.
Yeah, have they released because I remember a while ago they were talking about it, and it was saying somewhere from was like $100 to $1,000 or something like that was going to be the cost per title to release.
Yeah, something like that. I think they're implementing it probably at the end of the year or something.
I think this discussion we had was like it probably not too bad for Western developers. I mean, $1,000 is a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
But you could probably scrape it up.
Yeah.
Where it's like, say, people in Southeast Asia and things like that, $1,000 is a lot of money.
Yeah, it is a lot of money. But like if you're making a game, you probably would have that capital in the first place. But it depends on like some indie developers won't, so it's hard to say.
Yeah,
I mean, I suppose the whole point of Steam is to generate revenue, right? Like if you want to create a game that you don't want to make money off, there's some other platforms you could probably look at launching your title on. But I mean, Valve is there to make money. That's kind of the.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, it's mostly to stop like shovelware. Like there's so much shovelware on Steam now because of greenlight.
There is, yep. So, but hopefully the changes don't take away from some really great things being greenlit as well. I'm sure there's people out there who are trying to get their project off the ground, and hopefully this doesn't generate too many hurdles for them.
Yeah. I mean, like hopefully it won't. Like before you couldn't even get on Steam. Like you had to be like lucky enough to contact the guy who approves it, and like the team will look at it. But it kind of opened it up for like way more people. So we'll see how this new system goes.
Yeah, I guess it's a lot of games will get rushed before the changes get implemented, just to see if they can get through the
green light.
Process. Yeah.
So I mean, you mentioned that was relatively easy to get greenlit. Some people were probably cracking their shits about. But,
sorry.
No.
But it's like I've seen games like at the beginning it was like really hard, and now I see games get like smashed through pretty quickly. But sometimes people get unlucky and get that slump.
What were some of the biggest hurdles that you did face in making Paradigm?
I guess the biggest hurdle was just when working on it alone. If you do one thing, nothing else gets done. So you had to kind of balance your time properly, like especially if I was doing art, like to keep the momentum, I had to keep doing art assets. If I like changed during that, I'd lose momentum in one or the other. So that kind of hurts the game because you're not testing it as much. Like if you had one person programming, one person doing art, you can like make a lot of test the game way more. But when it's like one person, they do one or the other, and then like testing is like a lot less. So testing is very important, I think, if you're making a game.
Yeah, very true.
You sort of hit on there how you keep momentum. So if you were creating a certain asset or working on a certain project, would you get to a certain stage if it wasn't working for you, just kind of put it aside and work on something else? Or would you try and sort of bully through and get something productive out of that time, if you know what I'm saying?
Depends on my mood, I guess.
Yeah.
But most of the time I would get like obsessive with things. Like if something wasn't working, I couldn't like move on until I fixed it. But sometimes you have to put it away. Like it becomes unproductive after a certain point. So I mean, it's just a combination of both. Like you either get obsessed about it and try to fix it, or you just leave it be and clear your mind, and then you normally fix it in like 2 seconds when you come back to it.
Yeah, I think that's one of the major issues facing newer developers, I guess, is they don't have the persistence to carry on and overcome hurdles like that. I do know you've been slogging away at Paradigm since 2013 almost, so a good 3-4 years. It just goes to show for those listening who are making their game, just keep going at it. Got to release something to actually finalize something, really.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I mean, people always say that you should make a small game first so you understand like the whole process, which I do agree with, but I didn't follow that advice,
No,
obviously.
you didn't.
So, you know, it's all like people have to remember it's like an all individual journey. So like what works for one person won't work for you, could not work for you. You just have to see how you go.
Working, I mean, you weren't working a full-time job whilst creating this. How did you go also managing time in terms of, you know, would you stay up till 1 a.m. on days, or would you try and set yourself a schedule in terms of, okay, I'll work from 8 till 5 or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, it was terrible. Like,
Yeah.
there was times when I was like super like strict. Like, I'd wake up at like 7, do some exercise, and then work till like 10 o'clock or something, or like 9 o'clock, and then have a break. But there was times when I would just like work all day. Would not recommend that. Would recommend like schedules and times and milestones and stuff. Like every time I did that, I was way more productive than I was when I was just like slogging away without any like guides.
Yeah.
Did you use any like we're currently using Trello to manage and track our tasks? Did you use any tools like that to track?
No, I didn't. Like, I just I knew those existed, but since it was just me, I didn't really
That's true.
use it.
That's it. That's a good
But I would just like use Word documents, or I used this thing called like Habit RPG for a while, which was pretty good. Which is like basically you turn your habits into like an RPG, and you get points and stuff for completing your tasks, and you get like weapons and stuff. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I think I've seen that on the App Store. It's a good way to it's like gamifying your to do list, so making it a bit more fun.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like it gets pretty addicting, but then I can't remember why I fell off. I think I went on holiday or something and then just forgot about it.
Yeah, I think I used it for a little bit as well to try and track my gym, going to the gym and workouts and stuff like that.
Yeah, good idea.
Your game development tools, I know you said you did a lot of your art with Photoshop and After Effects. Was there anything else you used, not just for art, for the actual game development and whatnot?
Yeah, I used an engine called Visionaire, which is kind of like an engine which allows you to make a game without programming. I mean, there is programming involved if you want to do some more complicated stuff. Like my whole sound system, like even just a simple thing of like walking up to something and it gets louder, like that was like programmed in. But pretty much everything else is like all like actions and stuff, which is like a blessing and a curse, because it's like really slow to do things like manually like that when you have like a huge project, and also like more problems can arise.
Something we've touched on before is playing to your strengths when you're developing a game, and you saying that there, I suppose Visionaire, like you said, maybe has some limitations in terms of the speed of finishing the game, but also in terms of you probably learning the programming language would have taken you just as long or even longer to be able to program in another format potentially.
Yeah, for sure. Like, it gave me the ability to finish a game, and like it also gave like the limitations that I also needed to finish a game. Like if I made, like sometimes some reviewers will critique me for like using just the old school system, but it's like it was a good limitation on your first project, so you can like learn the ropes, because if you were to go crazy and like innovate, you're just going to be making that game forever.
Yeah, that's all right. Just keeping it simple.
Minimum viable product.
Mm-hmm.
Releasing a game, and I mean, you might not think it's completely polished, but you know, I think especially if you're in the creating game industry, you're never going to be completely happy with it. Like, I'm sure there's things with Paradigm that you're like, damn, I wish I had to change this, or I don't like that, I want to change this.
Yeah, pretty much all artists, basically.
Yeah, but I mean, people playing the game, like nothing when you're playing along, you're like, this is great. I wouldn't,
Yeah, like you say you wouldn't change anything. Yeah, like there's lots of games like that that are similar.
Yeah, so I mean, in terms of reviews and things you were mentioning before, how has that gone in your? Do you read them all, or do you stay away from some of them, or
It depends. Like I will read most of them, I guess. Like I'll look at the Steam reviews and see what people say. Um, I'll definitely read like the bigger articles as well, like from like bigger websites.
I think you got a review with Destructoid, and there's another couple of other big sort of reviewers as well. Hey.
Yeah. I mean, Destructoid was probably the biggest one I got, and Geek Bomb. I was lucky enough to get a review today from IGN.
Ooh, yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, I was pretty lucky with that. But yeah, like I would read the negative, like because there's not too many negative reviews, so I'll definitely read them. Sometimes they're like for stupid reasons, like or like reasons which make sense. Like it's just not their humor. It's like whatever. Like humor's
it's
subjective.
personal.
Like so, it's like fine, you didn't like it. No one's gonna like everything. Like your favorite thing in the world, there's gonna be someone who doesn't like it. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Whilst I suppose all these side projects and things like that, do you have time for anything else whilst you're making Paradigm? I mean, I'm obviously you're going to live and things like that, but did you find that it consumed you a fair bit?
Yeah, for sure. Like my whole life was Paradigm for quite a while. Especially like the last whole that's pretty much all I was doing. I did like spend some time making like a mock up for like a Seinfeld adventure game.
Yeah, I saw that.
The Stranger Things stuff, like for fun, like to kind of
mix it up.
Wind down. Yeah, mix it up. And like I did like a few things for like for Reddit and stuff like that. But yeah, pretty much like that's all I was doing. I mean, that's all I enjoyed doing the most anyway. So it wasn't really a hard thing because it was, everything was my own, and I got to do like vary it up a lot. Like in the game, I got to do like traditional animation, like stop motion animation, all sorts of like weird stuff because it was like I could do anything I wanted. So I was kept pretty fresh most of the time.
I think that's a good thing about working solo. It's like you're your own boss, so you can kind of plan what you do as well. And I guess
for sure.
It's hard self-motivating yourself sometimes, but yeah, it is a bit easier to satisfy one person.
Yeah, it is a blessing and a curse, but you play to the strengths of whatever you do.
I suppose, was there any point in time as well where you thought you went from thinking, oh, this is something I want to do, to actually people are going to play this? Obviously with the Kickstarter, but was there a time when that kind of clicked that this is going to be a big thing or be a real thing?
I guess it became like a real thing when I had like the first beta, I guess. And it was, I was working, I didn't have anyone like see anything or play anything till like, almost 2 years in, basically. I mean, people did see like all the stuff that I posted on like Twitter and thing, but like no one played the game. Like no one, like there were some people who played like really, really early builds and stuff, but like no one got to play like the whole thing. So that was like, that's when it kind of became a real thing, when you could play the game from start to finish. Yeah. That was like when shit went real.
It got real. Well, how does like your friends and family take this? In terms of making a game and spending all your time devoting to that.
Yeah, I mean it's been great. Like my friends are really understanding. I probably, because you kind of have to be selfish for a while, and I still feel bad about it, but it's just the part of the process, I guess. But now I'm catching up more with friends and stuff.
Yeah,
like,
you got a bit more time.
I normally wouldn't. Yeah, a bit more time that I don't have like the pressure or the deadline to release. So now it's just like, I can set an actual schedule and have free time again.
See people, not just stay in your room locked away all day.
Yeah, pretty much.
So this kind of answers the whole 9 to 5 transition, because you were obviously working at a job prior to this release. So you do get to schedule your own day. But what else was there from the 9 to 5 job? Did you find the transition easy, just working full time on what you loved?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like a pure transition. Like it wasn't, I worked as a salesman and I did freelance on the side. So I still had that taste of that, your own boss thing. And I kind of slowly transitioned into it. Like in the last couple of months I was only working like 2 days a week or something.
Yeah.
So I could like dedicate that time to the Kickstarter. But yeah, it was pretty easy because like that's pretty much all I did anyway. Like when I wasn't working, I was just drawing. So like I was used to the schedule of like just working on my own stuff. So it was pretty not a dramatic shift.
I guess one other question we've got for you is your sound, your voice actors, and your sound buddy Jonas Joberg. How did you go about working with them? Were you managing what they needed to do a lot, or did say Jonas? Did he have a whole bunch of examples or samples for you to test out and see what you liked?
Yeah, with Jonas, it was pretty like chill process. Like I always set up him a PDF with all the rooms, and I'll tell him what I like, generally the mood I wanted, and then I'd provide him like with 3 to 4 examples of like what I had in mind for that room.
Yep. Yeah, because the intro to Paradigm, just the start, it just captured, I guess, the essence of the game real well. The era and the styling, it was pretty good to crank it on and then turn on the volume just to hear that. Yeah, it was well made.
Yeah, it cranked pretty loud when we were playing it.
Yeah.
The other day, through the surround sound, it was good, real good.
Yeah, I was lucky that Jonas nailed pretty much everything really easily.
Did you know him at all before starting this project, or was he again someone you just sort of hooked up with because of the Kickstarter?
He actually contacted me through Reddit.
Oh yeah.
And on a screenshot Saturday, and I initially he did like a sketch for me, and I actually didn't like it. I liked his stuff, the work that he did, but I didn't like the sketch that he showed because it was like completely not what I had in mind. Like he gave me a sketch, and it was like made this like really goofy, like whimsical music, which was like it was good, but it wasn't what I wanted from the game. And then I got him to make the main theme, like when you're in Paradigm's room, that's like the first piece of music that was like ever written for the game, and like that was influenced. Like initially I wanted it to be like 80s synthwave, but then he's like, that music is like too cool and like driving, so we ended up doing like 70s like early electronic music. So, and then it kind of worked in from there, and I actually didn't hire him for like a year because I was like, he was like initially I thought he was too expensive, I couldn't afford him, and then that's when I did the Kickstarter so I could afford him, basically.
Oh, the Kickstarter definitely did its work then. Because I know there's a few parts of a game which really stand out to the users, one being the art, but sound is also as equally as important. You've got those games nowadays which basically don't have any graphics but text, and they just have this awesome soundtrack to accompany it, and it sets the mood and emotion so well.
Yeah, it's really lucky.
Super.
I think because you kind of art's visual, which is easier to recognize, whereas sound, you can play sound softly, to influence people's mood, so they can sort of only just hear it and not realize that the sound itself is
on the background,
invoking that emotional response. Yeah. No, I think people discount sound far too much. Not the game developers themselves, but probably the people who play the game.
Yeah.
I'd say even game devs themselves as well. Like, it's really undervalued. It's undervalued from people, but it's also undervalued because of like sound guys themselves, because so many people will offer you to work for it for free, like on your game or whatever.
Yeah.
But really, you want someone who charges money for various.
Yeah. Someone who does it for a job, or for at least
for sure.
I mean, talking to people who do, let's say, the Global Game Jam and things like that, and they did one in Perth. The one was held for Perth in the Global Game Jam, and there's like 3 sound guys.
Yeah,
and they're all pretty busy doing sound for all the different teams. It's something that people don't necessarily have that skill set of as well, and you kind of need to outsource that to get it right, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Potentially.
It's really undervalued. Like, I was originally going to do the sound design myself for the game, and I just cringed to think of what it was if I did it.
Yeah.
It's like, Jonas is a professional, and he, did an amazing job. And I just look at, like, there's a few things that I did in the game, and I cringe to think, like, what if I did the whole game? And I was like, oh, Jesus.
It's
Like I
always
said,
good.
stick
with
to your
that,
strengths.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Stick to your strengths. It's always good with that, like an input as well, second input, not just from your family, but someone you work with. So you get that, you get that second opinion, the fresh set of eyes kind of thing. So yeah, it was good mix between you and Jonas there.
Yeah. He's like, one of the reasons I hired him is because we had like a really good rapport and we had the same humor. So that definitely helped because, like, you know, there's a lot of really goofy song like extras that we put into it, and some of them were like his ideas. You know, like the music that made it like way funnier than just like my original idea.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Were you the one dropping the fat beatsies as the eggplant?
No,
who did the beatboxing? Was that you?
That was amazing.
No, it was a guy. I wish I could do it. Like I can like basic beatbox, but not as good as that guy. His name is Jacob Janerka. And he is from Singapore, I believe. I just made a call out on Reddit on r/beatboxing, and he was the one that replied, and he did a great job. He's pretty cool dude.
Yeah, like because Eric had played the first scene before I did, and then he came around and was like, click on drop the fat beatsies. And we were like both pissed ourselves. It was awesome. It was so good.
Yeah, I was pretty surprised how popular it was. Like, I mean, it was just a goofy thing that I liked, but heaps of other people liked it, so it was cool.
Yeah, I did make the mistake of calling the eggplant a beetroot before.
Everyone does. I mean, like, I didn't even make that connection, and people were like, you're a genius. It's like a pun because he's a beetroot and he makes beetroot. And I was like, oh fuck, I should have done that.
I should have made it a beetroot. Yeah,
but I kind of find it funny that he's an eggplant though, like a mutated eggplant.
I know we did touch on the Global Game Jam. There is the Ludum Dare coming up this weekend as well. Were you participating in that one, Jacob?
No, I have plans for the weekend, so I only found out yesterday that was on, and yeah, unfortunately, no, I won't be attending this one.
Possibly.
I think you're deserving of a bit of a break anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's like another thing. Like, even if I didn't have plans, like I probably would be like, oh, I'm pretty tired.
Cool. Well, thanks for coming on the show, Jacob, and chatting to us about Paradigm, or as I've been calling it, Paradigm. And just sharing some of the things that on the steps along the way and the highs and the lows.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for inviting me on.
Yeah, you definitely got a couple of big fans with us. We'll be following your work and enjoying whatever you spit out next.
Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate it. What are you guys making? You said you were making a game.
We're making a lot of excuses at the moment, but it's coming along.